Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 31. Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching, and I want to thank you as always for sharing some time with me today. Time is our most precious gift. You know, we can't make more of it, and we all have the same amount of it. So I appreciate you spending and investing your time with me today. So today, gosh, team, it is, in my world, depending on when you're listening to this podcast, March 29th. So it's Good Friday. It is the Friday before the Easter holiday. And Easter's always ever since I was a kid, has always been one of the holidays that stands out. Now, Christmas wins hands down in my world, but Easter's been one of those that has always held a unique or special place. And I can remember being a kid in anticipation of Easter. You know, I was raised devout Catholic. My parents were very strong Catholics, and so it was a really special time in our household. And as a kid, you understood the magnitude, yet you didn't quite get it at the depth that an adult can comprehend it. I can remember it was one time a year that our parents bought us candy and brought us Easter baskets. And there was just a really sense of energy and peace on Easter Day that felt different than other holidays. I always think about this time of a year as an opportunity for us to have a renewal and a rebirth. And it just, it's the time when we can do so much just based upon what a great holiday season it is. I was reading, and I'm going to read this because I don't want to mess it up, but it really is a new beginning, Easter. And it is there to remind us that it's a time to plant, to hope, and to begin new projects that can bloom. When we think about that, I think spiritually that's meant for you as a person, not necessarily a crop or a plant or something that grows in the ground. It's meant for us as well. And I think about several times that we have this opportunity. Of course, we look at the new year, right? New Year's Eve, New Year's Day as a fresh beginning. But for me, that's kind of in the stark days of winter. I don't care where you live. It still has a different energy, where Easter is on the cusp of spring, which brings about an entirely new energy with it. And so with that, I'm wanting you to think about that. It's a time for growth. It's a time to plant, a time to hope, and a time to begin new projects that can bloom. And I want to talk about that with you, the person. I mean, how cool, right? It's a time for us to bloom. And I think about one of the universal laws. So I'm going to tie a couple things together because your business grows to the extent that you do. And I look for these opportunities to create growth opportunities for myself and for those that I coach. So if we look at the season at hand and it being a season of growth and hope and a season of blooming, right? It is a great time for us to grow. It is a great time for us to take on the opportunity to embrace change and to have a new sense of hope. So when I think about your business grows to the extent that you do, and I think about the Easter season, I think that those are just a perfect marriage of two things to think about. What are you doing today? What are you doing right now that is allowing you to grow or to experience growth? It's so important. I learned this a long time ago from my coach and mentor, Dianna. And I remember having a conversation with her, and she was a fierce leader. She was a leader that made you uncomfortable a lot. And I remember her saying, if you ever think that you've slid into home plate, I'm going to make sure I remind you that you haven't. And at first I thought, my God, doesn't she want us to succeed? And that's not what she meant at all. Growth should be constant. I look at people who stall out or who are no longer growing, and I think about how they must feel or experience a sense of being left behind. I have been one that, since I've been in the coaching world for 14 years now, I have been one that has always been under the impression that growth is not an option. That growth for me, it allows me to achieve different things. It allows me to show up as a different person. It allows me to experience things that I wouldn't have experienced had I just pumped the brakes and stayed in neutral, which y'all know I don't believe there's such a thing as neutral. I think you're either growing moving forward or not growing moving backwards. There's just not this neutral place to be. So I'm going to ask you, from a business perspective, we're ending the first quarter of 2024. March 31st is the calendar year end date for quarter one, Q1 of 2024. If you look at the plans that you've made for yourself, how are you progressing? Are you achieving those goals? Are you where you thought you would be at this time of year? And, for those of you who are in sales, I think about my real estate salespeople. I think about some of my other sales folks that I coach. Our sales calendar, we're already well into May because of a sales cycle that we have going on. So it's really a time to get real and get right about, are you where you thought you would be? And if you're not, what can I do to grow to be the person that I wanted to be end of the year prior, that I forecasted that I would be for this year? And if you're not where you thought you would be, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you growing? Are you doing things to improve yourself, whether it's in business or in life? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So with this being a new beginning and a season for us right now, it's a good time to reflect on that and just sit with and think, if I'm not who I thought I was going to be, what have I done to grow? Because here's what's funny. We make these great plans to do more, typically, for our upcoming year. So I know for myself and for Rethink Coaching, we made some big plans for 2024. If I show up and bring only the resources I have created for myself up to 2023, there's a strong likelihood that I'm not going to make goal, that I'm going to fall short and end up being somewhere close to, or maybe even a little under what I did last year. So sit back and take a look at your goals. See where you are in that journey. And if you're not growing and moving towards those goals, I want you to have a really serious moment with yourself and ask, what have I done to grow as a business owner or to grow as a human? And if the answer is you haven't done anything, we need to get busy. We need to get busy growing. There was a class that I took at my previous place where I was coach. And it was an 8-week course. And it was probably the course that I owe my journey of mindset and thought work to, because it is what introduced me to it at a really high level. And I took that class 7 times. 7. Not once, not twice, 7. And if I was still with that same company, I'd probably be at 14 or 15. But I took it 7 times, and people would ask me, God, didn't you get it the first time? Why do you have to keep taking it over and over and over? And I can remember, and I would share this with the coach who was teaching the class, I can remember sitting there thinking, this must be new. They must have added some new material, because I don't remember hearing this the last time I took this class. Even on the final time that I took it, the 7th time, I had those thoughts, and I would go ask the coach, and they're like, no, nothing's changed. It's all part of the same curriculum. And I had the same coach for every one of them but one session. And so what I'm saying is, you've never, ever will reach home plate. Dianna was right. Even though you think you're doing well, you always have the opportunity to hear something different than you've ever heard before, and to learn something, to take away a nugget of information that you can plug in to your current world and experience growth. Now, I would not go and take a basic course that is, let's say, for a brand new real estate agent. However, I might if I want to brush up on my skills. I might if I'm struggling in that area. So I don't want you to discount certain levels of education or growth, because I believe you will learn something if you allow yourself to. And there's the saying, right? No man ever steps in a river in the same place twice, because the man is different and the river is different. I probably butchered that. So those of you who know it, I hope you know what I'm talking about. And I think it's very true for us on our growth trajectory. Every time I took that 8-week course, I was at a different place in my business, and I was at a different place in my personal growth. That's why I would hear things that I thought I'd never heard before, that I could have sworn were new. That must have been added to the program. It wasn't. I just didn't hear it. And so every time you invest time in yourself and in learning, you're going to hear something different, even if you've taken the program before. So take a look around. Where in your business or life could you stand to see some improvement? If we're not hitting our business goal, take a look at it and ask yourself, what do I think is causing me to not get to this goal? Is it that I need to brush up on my sales skills? I need to work on my language patterns to help people hear me differently when I speak to them and to allow me to convert at a higher level. So those of you who coach with me, you know that we talk about our language patterns, embedded commands, down swings, and tie downs. And so if I'm not converting at a high level, I might go find a class on sales language because I need to brush up. If I feel like I'm being outscripted by my clients, that they are winning at the end of the day and they're not using me to as their salesperson or as their representative, to ask myself, why did I get outscripted by the client? And I might go find a class that helps me on my business scripting or sales tactics that can help me further along in my career. Now, here's where it gets funny. Our ego can get in the way. Well, there's going to be a bunch of new people in that class, or I'm higher in my company than most people are going to be in that class, or I outsell them even on a bad day. That's your ego, and that is not going to serve you well. I don't care who's in that class. Doesn't matter. Most of the time, nobody knows who we are either. So I would invite you to set that aside and not go into a program, a coaching program, a workshop, or whatever it is that you're doing with the attitude of you know it probably better than the teacher, or probably better than the coach, and certainly better than everybody else who's in that program. I promise you, if you put that aside and go into this with the thought of, I'm here to learn, I'm going to learn a couple of new things that are going to plus my business that will allow me to grow. That is why I am here. Because remember, it's a new beginning. It's a time to plant. It's a time to hope. And it is a time for us to grow. Take advantage of it. Put your ego aside. Have a serious moment where you're working on your business and look and see, where am I not winning? Where am I failing? And what is the lesson? And then, even though I've taught myself and understood why I was failing and I learned the lesson, go partner with somebody in a coaching program, a workshop, whatever it is, a training course, a certification. I don't care what it is. Go put yourself in the position that you may actually learn something new. So for me, and I share this all the time, I'm in a constant season of growth. And sometimes people don't get it. They're like, are you not just happy where you are? And the answer is no, because I know I have more in the tank. I know that I can make an impact on more people. And that's why I coach. And it's why I have coaches. I think I shared in the last podcast, I was doing an exercise around thoughts and mindset. And here I am, a mindset coach that's been doing this thought work for, 12, 13 years now. And I had some realizations that I was still carrying around some crappy thoughts. If I wasn't willing to put my ego aside and just do the exercise that I will admit I thought was maybe okay, not going to be really powerful, if I wouldn't have put my ego aside and just resisted it, I wouldn't have learned. I will tell you that program and that exercise taught me more than I could ever imagine and opened up my eyes to, I have a huge gap between where I am and where I want to be. And it's called growth. It's why I have multiple coaches. People have asked me all the time, well, you're a really successful coach. Why do you need a coach? I need a coach to push me and to help me grow. I need a coach to say something to me that I maybe have heard a million times, but given the time, the day, the place, and the space that I was in, I heard the message differently. It's called growth. So step into this. Growth will make you uncomfortable, and that's where the most growth happens. So it's kind of funny how getting uncomfortable or putting ourselves in positions creates the largest opportunity for growth. So just remember, it's a new beginning. Easter, whatever your belief is, spring can be Easter, could be spring. It doesn't have to be associated to a religious holiday. For me, I believe in Easter. I believe in that holiday. I believe in what we were taught about it. So for me, I look at it as Easter. Others, you can look at it as spring. And it is truly a new beginning. So what are you going to do? Here it is, March 29th. We got 9 months left of the year. I'm going to challenge you and invite all of you to put together a plan that involves some growth. Because if you're not at the goal that you set for yourself right now, I promise you, you've taken your foot off the gas around growth. You're not putting into yourself. You're not pouring into yourself. You owe it to yourself. If you are at goal, congratulations, and go grow some more. If you've made goals so far, can we make the goal bigger? Could be your best year yet if you allow yourself to grow even more if you're on pace. So I'm not trying to take away anything from anybody who's not pacing to goal. I just firmly believe if you're at goal in this short amount of time, we could probably stretch that goal, make you go into a growth phase and achieve a higher goal than you even set for yourself for this upcoming year. So go enjoy the holiday weekend or go enjoy that we are in the spring season. It's such a cool time for us as humans to just sit back and reflect about what we can do so that we can grow and prosper and we can bloom and we can plant and we can hope. It's a cool time of year for that. I think we're in a place right now in the world that we need that. And if you can do that for yourself, I think you will be really grateful that you took the time to do it. So as always, if you need me, Tony@rethinkcoaching.com is my email address. Tony M, like Martin, Caliendo is my Instagram handle. You can direct message me there. Come follow me on Instagram. I post fairly regularly, and there's always something for you to learn. So come and follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. You can find me there as well. But if you ever need anything or you need clarity or you're feeling really overwhelmed because this podcast struck a nerve with you, reach out. You don't have to do it alone. I'm always happy to take a call. I'm always happy to schedule a session with someone, not charging for it, just a session for someone to help them in that moment. And then we might decide to work together. We might decide, hey, you just needed a boost. But whatever it is, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed and this hit you in a way that you need some help processing, please just reach out. I'm happy to help you any way I can. If you're celebrating the Easter holiday, I hope you have or had a great one, depending on where you're listening to this. And if you're celebrating spring, goodness, go enjoy. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you in a week. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.